Inflation benefits those who are financially educated. It hurts those who are not financially educated.
What's up, winners? My name is Naam. If you're new here, welcome. Here we talk all things personal finance and credit. Start out by subscribing so you don't miss out on any future videos. So in today's video, we have a very special guest. You probably ran across his videos on YouTube before, and he has helped me countless of times, and I'm pretty sure thousands of individuals out there. He's known as the Minority Mindset, but his actual name is Jaspreet Singh. So recently, his YouTube channel surpassed 1 million subscribers, and his channel has over 89 million channel views. So what's up, Jaspreet? How you doing, man?
Thank you for having me on. This is awesome. And a quick kind of aside, do you know what Naam means in Punjabi, in my native language?
Does it mean name?
It does.
Okay. I think it's that because my wife, she's Persian, and Naam in Farsi means name as well.
Yeah. Naam means name. Wow, I was surprised you got that. That's amazing.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, I was just like, a lot of other languages, when they say Naam, it's like his name. I was like, I think it was a guess.
Yeah.
So for the audience that's out there that, or maybe not familiar with who you are and the Minority Mindset, do you mind just sharing like a little bit about yourself, your upbringing, your career, things like that?
Sure. The minority mindset has nothing to do with the way you look, your ethnicity, or your skin color. It's a mindset. It's the mindset of thinking differently than the majority of people. And so, what we talk about is essentially how do you be better with your money by not thinking like the majority of people? Because if you're doing what the majority of people do, chances are you're doing something wrong.
That was the first thing when I heard about the minority mindset. I was just thinking, is this about minorities and just thinking how we think about personal finances? Because I wasn't sure, because being a minority in like the US or other countries, I think like your take on personal finance is a little bit different. Even I know for me is a little bit different. Just handling with money, because coming from other countries that doesn't have like a credit system, things like that, where it's basically cash based. So whatever you save, make sure you spend nothing more than what you have in cash. Is that something similar to you growing up?
Yeah, I mean, my family comes from India, and in the Indian culture, it's a save first culture. Now, I joke around about this, but Indian people make $1 to spend 20 cents. American people make $1 to spend $2 thanks to the help of credit. Now, which one is right? Neither. You need to know how to use your money the right way, because you can never save your way to wealth. And debt has also crushed so many people when you don't know how to use credit.
I think in US, especially with the credit system, it's a pros and cons, but of course, if you don't understand how to use it correctly, it can be definitely detrimental to your finances.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a credit-based system, and it is what it is. I mean, you can hate it or love it. It's the U.S. economy doesn't run on how many dollars people have. It's on how much credit people can qualify for, and so what that means is if I go and I earn $100 and I spend $100, well, I'm maxed out, right? In terms of the economic output, how much I can help the economy. I went out to a restaurant and spent $100. The restaurant owner made $100. They can invest in the company and do whatever they want, try to hire more people, open more restaurants. But my maximum economic output is $100. But our economy doesn't work like that. We learn on credit, which means that I can now go out and spend 200 thanks to credit cards, loans, HELOCs, whatever. And now I can go out and spend $100 at restaurant A and $100 at restaurant B. Now, the restaurants don't know if I spent money or credit, because in the economy, they work the exact same way. But what that does is it allows the economy to grow bigger, faster. Now, it has its own risks, because then you hear of credit crises, you hear of people over leveraged on debt, and you have people struggling to pay debt back. But from an economic perspective, the whole idea behind this credit-based system is it allows people to spend more, which allows the economy to grow bigger, faster. Now, is it right or wrong? I'm not saying either. It's just that is what it is. And so it helps to understand how the system works.
Yeah, like I came across this YouTube video like not too long ago. It's by Ray Dalio, and it was about like the economic machine, I believe. And it was a great like animation explainer how like the economy works, why there has to be credit, there has to be debt, just for the economy to grow. So if anybody have never watched that video before, I highly recommend it. Just get as a basic rundown of how economics work. Currently here in the US, like a mass exodus of people like quitting their jobs and like changing careers or something like that. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I love it. I mean, the 2020 pandemic changed the economy. It's crazy it took a pandemic for people to realize that people can be more productive working from home, and people can pick and choose their lifestyles, because before the pandemic, people would pick a job for one reason, the paycheck. Now it's what is the lifestyle, what are the morals of the company, and what's the paycheck, right? And so what people are realizing is I'm being forced to go back into a job when I work better from home. I was more productive from home. I got more done at home. I was happier at home. I want to do something where I have the flexibility. And obviously, you have some corporations which are outdated, which don't think for the future. And people are leaving these jobs to find something that's a little bit more innovative, to find something that's thinking futuristically. I love that. I mean, I love the fact that people are starting to really look at their lives more than just a job. I think that is so important. I love that. It's unfortunate that some companies will fail because of it, because they're not willing to adapt. But that's the reality of technology in the world. If you're not willing to adapt, you are going to die, and you have to be willing to change. I mean, one of the things that we did was, we followed Dropbox model here at Minority Mindset. Dropbox was one of the first to do something called virtual first, which means that they got rid of designated desks and they allow their team to come in when they want, and they can work from wherever. It's a more of a fun place to work. And if you want to work from home, fine. Want to work from the office, fine. If you want to go to Florida or work from the beach in Bahamas, fine. Just get the work done. Be on time for your meetings. Don't miss your deadlines. That's the way that we work here now. We're actually expanding. You might hear noises. We're taking the last floor in this building is 3-floor building, and we had the second floor. The first floor is retail because we're in a downtown, and we just expanded to the 3rd floor. So we're renovating it upstairs. We have a fun place to work. We don't have a massive team, but we have a small fun team, and you can work from wherever you want. So I love the fact that people are taking more consideration into what they want to do for a living. So I love that aspect. Now, on an economic aspect, I am concerned. I am very worried. We have, in 2020, the biggest recession since the Great Depression, and it lasted only 2 months because the Federal Reserve stimulated us out of the recession. Why are they doing that? They're trying to desensitize us from risk. But the reality is every asset class has risk. Every market has risks. Markets go up, markets go down. It is a part of the economy. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to eliminate the downside. Hey, if things go down, don't worry. We'll just start pumping money in and we'll just push it back up. So that is concerning to me. And now when we look at the state of our economy, the September 2021 jobs report was horrible. I mean, it was so far below expectations. And the solution, according to the Fed and the government, is stimulate more cheap debt, more free money, pump it into the economy, pump it into corporations so they have more money to grow. That is not going to fix the economy. What you're doing is you're debasing the value of the currency. You're debasing the value of our dollar, which is causing more inflation, which is causing things to become more expensive, which is ultimately hurting the economy even more. So our economy needs to grow. I have different opinions on how to grow the economy than the Federal Reserve Bank and the government. That is the bigger concern, is we need to grow the economy. People are rightfully looking for change because they want to live happier. They want to work a job that they actually feel fulfilled at, but our economy needs to grow. The way we do that, if you ask me, we need to push innovation. We need to push entrepreneurship. We need to push creativity and encourage these things rather than discourage entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurs can save the country and the world. An entrepreneur's job is to solve a problem. The government is trying to fix the problem by pumping money, which is making the problem even bigger. And you can just look at housing prices, car prices, gas prices, vacation prices. Look at the prices of groceries. Look at healthcare costs. Look at anything. Inflation is hitting the country across the board. And then you have the Federal Reserve Bank come out and say that inflation isn't that bad. Now, Dr. Michael Burry, who came out and he said, the Fed is lying to you. He did an interesting report, talked about the Wall Street Journal article. What happens is the Fed, they have these meetings where they talk about inflation, but what the Fed said is inflation is not that bad. And the way that they come up with these numbers is they look at the inflation data, they put it on a chart, and then what they're doing, and this is what they reported in the last meeting, is they delete the top 34% of data. So all the high inflation numbers, all the high inflation figures, they just delete it off the chart. Then they take the bottom, I believe it's 21%. It's either 21 or 24. I forgot the exact number. And they delete that. So now you have a chart with all this data. You delete the top, you delete the bottom. And now here you have a just nice looking inflation chart where it looks like inflation is not bad. If you don't think inflation is not bad, just walk down the street and ask people, are you struggling paying your bills? Is it harder now or was it harder 3 years ago or harder 10 years ago? That will give you a better data on how inflation is affecting people. The question is now, why? Why is the Fed and the government pushing for more inflation? Well, this goes back to the economy and understanding how the economy works. You know, I didn't do good in my economics class in college. I took one economics class. I slept through it almost every single day. It was at 10:30 in the mornings on Mondays and Wednesdays. The teacher was so boring. She would put me to sleep. I had no idea what she was talking about. I would go there and I would fall asleep. I mean, I did not learn anything from that class, but you have to understand what's going on. You don't have to take an economics class, but you can just try to pay attention to what's going on. The United States government has $29 trillion, almost $29 trillion with the national debt. The government needs more inflation because what that means is the government can then pay back this $29 trillion with cheaper dollars in the future. That's why the government and the Fed need more inflation. If you think about the opposite, because people are hoping for deflation, they're hoping for the price of things to come down, which means the price of the value, or through the dollar becoming more valuable. If the dollar becomes more valuable and you see deflation, that means the government has to now pay back the $29 trillion with the national debt with more expensive dollars. It has become more expensive to pay down the national debt. That's not what the government wants. And so while you hear everyone's saying that inflation is transitory and you know everything's going to be okay, there's nothing wrong with money printing, you have to understand the why. What do they really want? Now, I got trust issues, okay? I had trust issues when I started learning about how the school system doesn't teach me anything about money, doesn't teach me anything about becoming financially successful, even though everybody goes to school to become successful. And if you say, no, that's not true, I'm getting it for my passion, then don't ask your boss to give you a paycheck. People are going to school, obviously, to learn something, but you also have this aspect of trying to become financially successful. And if you still don't believe that, look at the fact that the number one liability for young people, millennials, are student loans. But the biggest asset for the United States government are student loans. Look it up if you don't believe me. I mean, it's crazy. The United States government is making so much money off of the student loans that they can say, oh, we have a student loan crisis, but at the same time, the student loan crisis is funding the United States government. You know, when we talk about inflation, you really have to get financially educated, because the reality is you can say, hey, the government is going to want to help bring inflation down. But at the same time, if you really think about it, no, they won't. They want more inflation because that's the only way they will ever have the ability to pay down their debt.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, when you think about it like that. Because I always think about, because I think a lot of people, their connotation of inflation is like, oh, stuff is more expensive, my dollar is less, it's bad, you know. But if you look at from that standpoint, it's like, okay, inflation is going up, it's easier for the government to pay back this debt. And from that standpoint, I'm like, okay, that starts to make sense now, because I think I'm just like everybody else, like, oh, inflation, oh, that's bad. It's like my dollar is not worth as much as I used to be and stuff like that, you know.
Really comes down to who you're asking. Inflation benefits those who are financially educated. It hurts those who are not financially educated. If you are the owner of assets, businesses, you're an investor, you own the assets, well, inflation is now inflating the price of your assets versus everybody else. If you don't do that, your income and your savings don't stretch as far. So inflation hurts you. That's why it's known as a hidden tax. It hurts the people who don't understand it, and it benefits the people who are educated financially. And none of us are given that financial education.
Yeah, like even me in school, I don't recall ever having like a personal finance class. I know we had home ec, but that was like in 8th grade or something like that. Just how to do stuff at home, take care of yourself, cook yourself some meals and things like that. Because I was talking to some other, my wife's cousins and stuff like that. They just graduated from high school, and I asked them about that. Like, did I ever teach you about anything sorting, like balancing a checkbook? I know people don't use checks anymore, but like basic accounting, you know, just credit cards, things like that, or even student loans, you know. And they never said anything, like they never taught them about this stuff, because like it's crazy to think like right out of high school you could go to college and you could get like 6 figures worth of debt without really even knowing what you're getting yourself into. And that's insane to me. Like it's just insane that
it's criminal.
some of the stuff, Yeah, it is exactly because like you don't know what you don't know, but I feel like it's like why don't you teach just the basics? You know, like I don't understand why it's so taboo to teach about finance.
How can a 17-year-old rightfully sign themselves up for a financial death sentence without knowing the real consequences or costs? If I want to go out and take on $250,000 worth of student loans when I'm 17, so I can go to a big name college which has a very high tuition, it's not hard at all. But you don't know what the cost of that is. And it's not, I mean, if you're 17 years old, unless you have rich and wealthy parents, who is going to teach you? Is screwed up on so many different levels. And this is why financial education is so important.
So like moving on a little bit more, on my channel, I'll talk more about like credit, debit, and things like
Yeah.
that. Do you ever use a debit card or you mainly use credit cards?
I don't own a debit card. It's kind of bit me in the butt a couple times because there was a time a few months ago I needed to pull out some cash from an ATM. I don't
Oh
have an
yeah.
ATM card or the debit card, but I don't use a debit card. I probably will get some sort of ATM card, but I don't have a debit card. No, I only use credit cards.
Yeah. So for you, do you ever get cash out then, or you just only use mainly just credit for everything? And because there's really no need for you to get any cash from the ATM then, right?
I rarely ever use cash. I keep I try to keep cash in my wallet because I do this thing where I like to, when I see a homeless person, give $2. I keep cash for that purpose. I really don't use. I don't remember the last time I actually made a transaction with cash. I don't know why I would, because I like getting my cash back.
Yeah.
So even if it's a $3 purchase, I mean it's tracked with my credit card. All my expenses are organized. I can get cash back, and I have fraud protection. I don't use cash. I actively try to avoid using cash. I mean, sometimes there's no option because a vendor or a seller will require cash, in which case I will go to the bank and pull out cash. One time I needed an ATM a few months ago, but I mean, I don't really use cash. I used to only use a debit card because I was scared of credit card debt. I used to read books back in the day when I was just getting started. Remember, I didn't have any financial education. I had no sort of like guidance on how to use money. I just thought that if you became a doctor, you'd become magically rich
Well,
and smart about money. But so I read books, and they talked about, one guy talked about the dangers of credit card debt, which is very justified. Credit card debt is horrible, but I got scared. I was like, I don't want credit card debt, so I didn't get a credit card. I used a debit card for years, and then what happened was, with my debit card, I made a purchase which was a fraudulent purchase. I had purchased something for something that I was doing, but I never got the product. I couldn't get the refund from the company. They were like pretty much a scam. I called the debit card company, and they said, this was a while ago, but they were like, we don't offer any sort of purchase protection on debit cards. You have to use a credit card for that. So now my money's gone. I can't get it back. I have no purchase protection. That's when I was like, let me try this credit card thing. So I started using credit cards, and I paid it off every month. Like, I'm pretty smart with how I spend my money. I never once carried credit card debt. I never once paid a penny in interest on my credit cards. But I was smart. I didn't spend more than I had. I always paid it off. And then I got a check from my credit card company. No, I got a letter in the mail actually. I spoiled it, but I got a letter in the mail. I was like, oh no, what's this? And it was a check. I got cash back, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, credit cards benefit, again, like anything else, to benefit you if you understand how to use it. But if you don't know how to use it, it will skin you alive. If you can't control your spending, if you cannot control how you make purchases, if you use your credit card as a free ATM, a money printer, don't use a credit card. It's not worth the 1.5% cash back or 2% cash back. Pay with cash or use a debit card. But if you know how to use your spending, if you know how to control your spending, if you know how to live below your means, and you're going to pay it off every single month and not carry a balance ever, then use a credit card.
yeah, that's what I always advise, especially my channel. I'll talk about it because I know like there's other people in the finance space. I'm not gonna name names, but they're totally against like credit cards. Cash is
Dave
king. Stuff.
Ramsey.
Yeah, you could say that, but because I think he focuses more on like people's behavior rather than whether or not they can do something responsibly. Because I think that he believes that a lot of people just lack self control and discipline. That's why like so many people call in and he call everybody stupid and idiots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, people can make mistakes, but I definitely think that using credit cards, it can be taught, it can be learned. Like you could make sure that you pay it if you don't have cash right away to pay it off. Like maybe is a higher risk. For me, I tend to, if I could pay it off right away with a debit card or cash, I would probably make the purchase on credit because I know that exactly I have this much money in my bank account that I can make this statement balance.
Yeah. I love Dave Ramsey. Okay. I mean,
Same.
he's a very smart person. I don't agree with everything that he says, but he has helped so many people out of a financial mess. His advice isn't right for everybody. And that's where you have to understand is like, you have different people in the financial space. You have Dave Ramsey on one end, you have Robert Kiyosaki on the other hand, who promote two completely opposite things. And you know what's funny? They're friends with each other. They're close friends, and they promote two very opposite things. And so it's not a matter of, Dave Ramsey is right for certain people in a certain stage of their life. And he has helped a lot of people in that stage. And for some people, guess what? They can't control their spending, in which case credit cards are not good. And that's okay. Like not everyone is right for everyone. Not everyone is gonna like the things that I say. You don't got to, but for certain people, he is exactly what they need, and he's helped a lot of people in that situation. So I mean, that's the way that I look at it. I love Dave. I've read a lot of his books. He's motivational. He's a hard worker. He's done a lot of good, and so you don't got to agree with everything he says, but you can always learn.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you should always try to learn from people, even if you don't agree with them. I talked about this in the interview that I just did. We live in a society where if we hear somebody who has a different opinion than you get angry. Oh, I can't like you because you said XYZ. And so we get polarized into one side or the other. But real intelligence comes from learnings from people that you don't agree with. Like I just read Barack Obama's book, Promised Land. I also read, not too long before that, I read Donald Trump's book. Very different people, very different opinions. Don't gotta agree with everything, but you can learn. There's a lot of learning that you can do in this world, and you should not be scared to learn from somebody just because they disagree with you.
Because I know he's not really a big fan of credit. So since I talked about credit, what do you think about the credit, like the current credit scoring system? Do you think it's fair how it's ranked from like 0 to like 850? Do you think how the model is right now? Do you think it's fair?
Fair is a relative term. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, it took me a long time to build my credit score because I did not have someone telling me what a credit score was. How do you build your credit score? Actually, my first credit card, my limit was $600, and I spent a lot more than $600 a month. And I didn't know that going past your credit limit was a bad thing. Every single month, I would get declined at a certain point because I spent more than $600. I don't know that was a bad thing. Again, it goes down to financial education. If you're educated about credit, well, then you can build a higher credit score very fast. Or if you have parents who are educated in this space, they can help you grow your credit score, right? They can put you as a additional user on their card, or they can give you a card and help pay it off when you're in high school or younger. That way, by the time you're in college, you have a 800 credit score. I had like a 600 or a 500. Yeah, I don't even know what they went down to. My credit score was horrible because I didn't even know what a credit score was. I didn't know how you could check it. I didn't know that maxing your credit card was bad. I didn't know what was good or bad. And I mean, is it fair or unfair? I mean, it is what it is. But our lack of financial education is a problem. And some people, some families are going to have a better chance of getting a higher credit score than others because they have that education, which means that they're going to be able to go out, and if they needed to borrow money to do something, they will be able to get a lower interest rate than others.
I know the credit scoring system is like, you really don't know until you start actually trying to build credit or actively trying to build credit. I know there's a bunch of like credit bureaus, like there's like over 300, right? So there was something that was mentioned earlier this year that possibly they may consolidate and to have a government run like credit bureau by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's a good idea to have like this the government control like a credit reporting system, or you think it was fine how it was, where it was just has a bunch of different type of credit reporting systems?
I don't know much about this, but judging by what you said, I would be concerned. Government run anything tends to scare me because of all the things that I talk about. I don't trust the government to look out for me. Obviously, I believe in the American economy. I think the American economy is the strongest economy in the world. But I just don't like the idea of having to rely on the government to take care of me financially. And if they're going to be the ones in charge of taking care of credit and monitoring credit and deciding credit, to me, it seems like it would be inefficient. Government systems tend to be very inefficient. I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I hear you because like I'm a veteran, right? Like handling stuff through the VA, it takes a long time. It's a process, Nothing to bash that, but it's been perfect. But it's just
Well, thank you for your service.
I appreciate it, but it does take some time, I'm not as efficient as probably would like it, but I'm pretty sure probably maybe in the same boat. But before on some closing thoughts, because it's been a great conversation, I always ask people like, what's currently in your wallet? Like what credit cards you use, what do you use them for, and why do you use them?
Sure. I like cashback. That's the way I look at things. And so like I have a business credit cards. I have a Spark, Capital One, cashback. I get 2% cashback on everything. The reason why, because I get that 2% cashback. And so when we're spending 30, 40, 50, $60,000 a month on a credit card, it adds up very fast. Then on the personal side, I have a what is that called? The Chase Freedom Unlimited, 1.5% cash back on everything.
Yeah,
I have that. I have the Amazon card, 5% cash back on all Amazon purchases. Look, I don't like going into the store. I shop online. I'm not a big shopper, but I shop online and I spend a lot of money on Amazon. I love that 5% cash back for travel. So I have my personal cash backs, which I just went over. I have my business cash backs. And then I got my travel cards. And these are more just for the perks. I have the Amex Platinum. And I like that because when I go into an airport, I get to go chill in the lounge. They give you some rebates on your travel expenses. So if I have to pay for a checked-in bag, they can refund me for that for a certain airline. They give me upgrades on hotels, on rental cars, and they gave me free access to Clear, which, by the way, if you're traveling a lot, Clear is really cool. It's different than TSA PreCheck because with Clear, you almost have like an escort where like you walk in there, they like scan your eyes, and then they just walk you right into like the security check. So, but they raised the prices on that. It used to be like $500 a month when I first got it, and now I think it's like or not a month, a year, $700 a year or something. I don't know exactly, but
yeah, it's like 700 a year. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. But there's a time and place for that, right? I mean, it's not something you just go out and buy. It has to provide enough value for you.
So before I let you go, where can people find more about you if they wanted to connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can go onto our YouTube channel, Minority Mindset. We have just launched some more channels. We have the Minority Mindset News channel, which we just launched. Where we publish daily finance and business news every day. You can go to our website, theminoritymindset.com. We publish blog posts all the time. We have our social media at Minority Mindset. Just pretty much Minority Mindset across the board is where you can find more.
All right. Awesome, man. It's been a great show. It's been great talking to you. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Everybody, go check out Jaspreet Singh on Minority Mindset across the board. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Naam. This was awesome, man. This was so much fun. You did a great job. And this I love the questions you've asked.
I appreciate it.